Thrill me.
I'm gonna name you Coda. You get a name too, Podo.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
You too? You got a boner too? Blue Steel.
Welcome, everybody, to another Q's and Tease installment of the Unkind Rewind. This week, we'll be joined by Greg Schaum, Kansas Cityan, general baseball guy, lots of gigs in his past. Also, I believe we talk about this, but he was definitely like on the short list of guys who were maybe going to be in Major League 3, and that didn't pan out.
Would he have been in Major League 3 as
an actor? Yeah.
As an actor, okay.
Yeah.
Where's Major League 3 right now in development? Or
it happened back to the minors.
Oh, that was back to the minors. Okay, so did 2 have a subtitle?
I believe Major League 2 was just Major League 2
Okay.
with the Roman numeral 2, because that's the one that had the Japanese player.
Yep.
Tanaka, I think.
Tanaka. Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Yeah, so we've got Greg Schaum joining us. That's a fun talk. A fun movie,
Greg,
too.
Was Greg our guest who actually ran into Tanaka? Because we had a guest that ran into Tanaka.
Masahiro Tanaka, the Yankees pitcher, or
No, I thought the character, or the guy who played the character. Or you know what? Maybe I'm thinking of, we had a guest who ran into a token Japanese athlete in a movie, in a comedy, but I now think that token Japanese athlete was in Unnecessary Roughness.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, that was Mike Wiebe. And he ran into... What was the other movie that he was in? The guy was in the bar that Mike was working at.
Yes.
At
Yeah. I believe
That
it's
was
also, awesome. I should, before we get angry emails, it's Necessary Roughness.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
I need to toss a quarter in the jar every time I do that. But
yeah, that was Mike Wiebe. He tells that story in the Q's and T's episode with him. So
there you go. If you want to know more about that.
How are things? What have you been up to?
Things are good. I actually just got notified that I'm on one more little movie judging thing. This time I will be judging the short film competition for SAG-AFTRA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I get to watch the SAG-AFTRA Foundation Short Film Showcase.
Okay.
So I get over the next 10 days or so, I have to watch 7 to 10 shorts and then give my assessment.
Okay.
So by the time this airs, it'll be null and void, and we won't have to worry about disclosures and all that. But
sure. Well, this airs tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. Well, even by then.
Yeah.
As long as you, the listener,
you haven't mentioned any of the names of the movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen the list, but as long as you, the listener, aren't hearing this and have submitted a film to be judged, and you're also not a really close friend of mine, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'll be getting to watch some shorts. I watched the Oscar-nominated shorts.
Mm-hmm. They're
okay.
Right.
I'd like to watch the documentary short subjects, but I just don't know if I'm gonna have time before the Oscars on Sunday.
Sure. Got any big predictions?
Sure. Okay, so film.
Not what should win, but what will win.
Okay, what will win, I think Honora's gonna win.
Okay.
I do.
I'm there with you. I think it's all the momentum is pointing its way.
The
only issue is that Oscar voting was submitted,
Right.
But all of the other votes were also, the deadline was deadline submission point was a while ago. So
I'm the biggest one I'm on the fence with. Okay, so I'll tell you. I mean, Kieran's gonna win. Zoe Saldana's gonna win. Right now, I'm actually leaning towards Chalamet.
Yeah.
Over Brody. I really am.
I just watched that last night.
Okay, well, regardless of how you feel about that or how I felt about that, I think he's gonna win. I think the biopic stuff. I think the relationship from his age to Brody's age is too much of a story for them to. Brody so far is the youngest Best Actor winner.
Yeah.
Chalamet would be by
Yeah.
like a few months, basically, if he were to win. I think they're
both
gonna
edging out what's his face for Goodbye Girl, Dreyfus.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do it. I think the biopic thing is too strong. The biopic thing is so powerful when it comes to Oscars. If you played somebody, you have a seriously handicap in your favor. And I
He
think that
also recorded a fuck ton of Dylan songs where he's performing and like he's playing in.
if they're gonna give it to Rami Malek
Yeah, for lip syncing.
for whatever that cartoonish performance he gave,
Right.
didn't even I don't think we even had gay sex in that movie. Like he comes out of a rest stop or something, but there's no intimate
Right.
scenes that he has. Freddie Mercury, that's kind of something that he did a lot. If they're gonna give it to Rami Malek for lip syncing, you think? I mean, I think Brody had a really good performance. I think any other year that wins, but I don't know. I just think the tea leaves tell me right now that Chalamet is gonna win it. I'm having a hard time circling.
You think it should be either one of them? Who do you think should win Best Actor?
Should win Ray Fiennes for Conclave.
Okay.
I just think it's such a delicate performance. It's so nuanced. He has to use everything. He has to use every year of experience to pull off that performance. He
Do you
navigates.
think Domingo was better in Sing Sing than both Brody and Chalamet also, or no?
No, I think Domingo's performance was really good, but he's acting around non-actors, and the disparity between that is really, really difficult for me to kind of land. And I think if he was in if everybody in that movie is an actor and can feed him and work with him, but yeah, he's kind of, I don't know. I think Coleman Domingo's going to do a lot of good work.
It feels like he's nominated every year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Coleman Domingo.
No.
I'm not worried about Brody. I'm not worried about Chalamet. I mean, any of these guys. The thing that I am having a hard time though with is in Penn circling Mikey Madison to win for Honora. I don't think I can do it.
I mean, it feels like a 2-horse race between her and Demi Moore, but I'm not sure who. And then obviously Fernanda Torres won the Golden Globe in a kind of upset, and who knows, Golden Globe vote shouldn't be counted at all towards
the weird
handicapping
thing is,
anything.
Yes, but for the Academy, right? We have ranked choice. It's the same reason that New York City wound up with its goddamn mayor. Shout out Mayor Adams. You're not welcome here, but I think that sometimes can get you a very tricky winner out of nowhere.
Right.
I mean, they even think that Brody, back in his pianist days, benefited from the vote being split between Denzel Washington and I think Russell Crowe.
Was it Russell Crowe in Master and Commander or Gladiator?
Yeah, and the Hurricane for.
Okay.
I think both of them lost to Brody.
He was really good in The Pianist.
He was really good, but those two names at that point, I think,
right.
It was a bit of a surprise when they called his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with who is good, right? Like
right. No, we're trying to pick the winner here. No.
Right. But
Or we're talking winner, not deserving.
when you turn
Because
in,
I don't think either one of us would say Zoe Saldana should be winning Best Supporting
the
necessarily.
closest thing, I mean, it's a
Because
thin,
that movie's so bad.
but it's a thin category, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Monica Barbaro was good in A Complete Unknown. I didn't see The Brutalist yet, and I'm not rushing out to see it. You'd probably
Again,
vote Ariana Grande, right?
I think Ariana Grande was really good. Very funny.
Is that who you voted for in the SAG
Yeah.
award? Okay.
Yeah. She's basically a co-lead, which is what brings me back to Zeldana. You know, also, yeah, but Zeldana is also like a co-lead in that movie.
I literally just got a text from somebody to me and Jackie that was Emilia Perez, Academy Award winner, right? And then like a praying emoji.
I mean, to be honest, it's a much more interesting race with Emilia Perez kind of blacklisting itself.
Yeah. I mean, it was like an utterly insane movie in the first place before what Carla Sofia Gascon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before she ruined.
Her. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Before her past ruined things.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens. It does happen. It does still happen. I don't know how Netflix didn't do a deep dive on that before they went to...
And how they didn't have her scrub her social media.
Oh my God. I mean, just...
Like, what the fuck? That's
have an
shit.
Have an assistant go through and do with it. I mean, they're starting to learn their lesson now about professional athletes. But every now and again, one slips by. When it's all said and done, are you circling Mikey Madison or are you circling Demi Moore on your unofficial ballot?
I mean, I think they're both really great. I think this ends up being... That's not what I asked. No. I think it ends up being career achievement, which I think goes to Demi Moore. Like,
I looked over the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And just with Best Actress, 19 of the 30 you could argue were career achievement, like long-standing established actress.
That's sort of why I'm of the mind that it ends up being Ralph Fiennes in Best Actor. Also because Oscars are so old. Oscar voters, I mean, they've purged some of the older voters, but like they do tend to go very safe.
I would be knowing.
Although the only thing that Chalamet's playing like a boomer bait role, so like that might cancel out Ralph Fiennes, but I don't know.
I mean, do not ever sleep on biopics and how sexy they are to the Academy voters.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that like I'd say, like, if you put a gun to my head right now, who am I circling? I'm probably circling Chalamet's name.
Yeah.
Do you think Baker has competition for director from Corbet? It's tricky because you haven't seen it, but now we're talking about The Brutalist not winning anything.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about, given where it was, 2 months ago, a month ago.
I don't know how much of the Academy is watching Corbet on the sort of
circuit,
Oscar media circuit.
Yeah.
But I think Sean Baker's afforded himself pretty well. And Corbet has come across as kind of a blowhard. So,
yeah, I mean, it's difficult if you haven't seen it yet to get into kind of the product that he threw out there. But
yeah,
again, for me,
it's still not really available anywhere.
Mm-hmm. It's for, I've said this before, probably on this podcast, but it's 2 movies for me. It's the first half,
second half, yeah.
Which is great, and the second half, which is not.
Yeah, I've seen 4 of the 5 directing nominees. The only one I haven't seen is Brutalist.
I mean, Fernanda Torres, if she wins, I think Ralph Fiennes wins. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If Fernanda Torres can kind of squeeze in and be the, it's like if Mikey and Demi have split the vote in such a way where Fernandez is like everybody's second pick, or everybody's third pick, then Fernando Torres is going to do the same thing, and Ray Fiennes is going to do the same thing. Because nobody is putting Ray Fiennes lower than 3, I don't think, on any of that ballot. And that movie is like catnip right now for so many people. It's smart, but it's satisfying in a way. It's the church, but it's kind of, kind of elbow in the ribs to the Catholic Church too. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to be surprised. I mean, I don't want to, and I do the thing now, which hurts my soul, but I do the ballot of like who is going to win. Like Wild Robot, I think is trash, but I think it's going to win over Flow, which I thought was good. But yeah, if I'm picking Chalamet, Demi Moore, Zaldana, and Kieran Culkin, and I'm wrong, great. Like I don't think I'm gonna be like jumping off the couch, breaking my TV. Unless, no, I don't think there's any reason why I would do that. Even it's crazy to think about, but like Fernando Torres' movie, I'm Still Here, is now in the running for best foreign language film.
Yeah.
That's like, we weren't there 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Wait, what was?
I mean,
Did
it was going to be
something?
Amelia Perez.
Oh, right. Like it may win. Okay. Copy.
I mean, I'm Still Here might win best foreign language film.
Flow could too.
Yeah, I'd be happy with either of those. I like them both.
Have you seen any of the documentary?
Yeah, I'm seeing. I'm gonna try to see them all, but yeah. Well, let's see. Porcelain, No Other Land. Two movies that I liked quite a bit didn't get nominated: the Christopher Reeve documentary and Daughters, the Netflix thing about being in jail and having a daddy-daughter dance.
Okay.
Which is terrific if you are okay with, the prison industrial complex. And yeah, I mean,
You haven't
I
seen
don't.
Soundtrack to Coup d'etat?
I loved Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat.
Okay, that's the one on the list that like jumps out most to me. I know Sugarcane's supposed to be really good too, but
Sugarcane was okay.
Okay.
But Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat is tremendous. Yeah, shame on me for not immediately saying that right away. And I haven't seen Black Box Diaries, although I want to.
Okay.
I mean, pretty. I mean, I guess the nickname for best documentary is like Best Depression.
Yeah.
So you have Palestine, Ukraine, child abuse, a government staged coup of another country, and then rounded out with rape.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think as Americans, we should be seeing more of these. And I mean,
I've usually seen, at this point in the year, I've usually seen 4 of the 5, and I just haven't seen any yet.
Yeah, and you're an exception. I mean, I think by and large, a lot of people, unless it's like the new Netflix thing that, has got everybody kind of talking a la Tiger King, like we just don't see like heavy documentaries and really important documentaries. Of course, present company excluded.
Yeah.
But yeah, see more docs, people.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna learn something.
Speaking of great films, last week we watched St. Elmo's Fire with Chelsea Kane.
Hard air quotes needed on that, but speaking of depression.
So just following up on feedback from that, following the Q's and T's drop, Mobius 13 said on Blue Sky, RE the latest teaser, pretty sure Tom Selleck had to pass on Raiders because Magnum PI wouldn't let him out of his contract to go make the movie. And that was the case, as Harrison Ford told Deadline, quote, Tom Selleck had the job, but he also incurred an obligation to do a television series, and he was unable to get out of that contract. I became the second choice, and I'm very grateful for Tom. Thank you, Tom, man. If you're listening, thank you again.
There you go.
And apparently Lucas didn't want to go to Harrison Ford
Sure.
because he'd worked with him on Star Wars and thought that he'd want like more creative input or something like that, and wasn't looking forward to doing that. But Harrison Ford was totally on board and seemed to be game to
I mean, obviously
sign
not
a
the last.
3-picture deal.
Yeah, obviously not the last time that George Lucas was dead wrong about casting.
What?
Do you know there's actually a pretty good short doc about the actor who didn't get cast as Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace?
So not Jake Lloyd?
Not Jake Lloyd. His name's Devin Michaels, which
Okay.
shows you, how I think good he was in his audition tapes. Is that I know this actor who didn't get it, but what's really apparent to everybody except for George Lucas is how good, like 10-year-old or 11-year-old Devin Michaels was. Lives in LA, doesn't act anymore. Maybe he left LA, but all that screen test footage is still available. And they brought in Natalie Portman up to Lucas Ranch, whatever that Skywalker Ranch, and had her read with the top 3. And it's like somebody screaming in George Lucas's face, like, this is obvious. Pick this kid.
Yeah.
And
I wonder who he would have cast if he had done E.T.
Yeah.
Not not chosen Henry Thomas based on the historic audition footage that has since come out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm striving to come up with like a really bad name, but yeah, Henry Thomas would be working at a fucking Arby's right now.
Probably a Whataburger. He's from San Antonio. So.
Yeah, he would stay in San Antonio and be managing a Whataburger.
Yeah.
Because he would never have gotten the chance because George Lucas shut it down. Yeah, that's a good point.
Before listening, Gopher Ball skeeted. Looking forward to this one as it received an epic 2 thumbs down from Siskel and Ebert. My sister had a high school movie night party when it came out on video, and I remember them savagely mocking it, except the boys liked Demi Moore and the girls liked her clothes. The ringleader of her friend group was basically the Rob Lowe character, swapping out a failed saxophone career for a stint as a U.S. Marines recruiter.
Oh, okay.
Then Jeremy argued on Blue Sky, I am an Emilio guy. This being Jeremy Steen, of course, our Beastmaster guest. That was after the pre-interview dropped where Chelsea suggested that no one was an Emilio guy. Oh.
You can be an Emilio guy, and Josh has admitted to being a Rob Lowe guy. It doesn't mean that you're a Kirby guy, and it doesn't mean that you're a Billy guy.
No.
Which is what Chelsea conflated with you. Because we spent an hour and a half crucifying the character of Billy, and which of course Chelsea responded like, Josh, you said you were a Rob Lowe guy. And it's like, delineation.
Yeah. Huge line of demarcation between Rob Lowe the guy and Billy the guy.
Right. And so Jeremy may in fact be
Jeremy was an Emilio guy, but not a Kirby guy.
True. And
yes.
we have to make that distinction.
Right. And this again was this was after the Q's and T's episode where she asked if I was an Andrew McCarthy or Rob Lowe guy, and I was like, why can't I be an Emilio guy? And I mentioned Repo Man and Men at Work, which would have been the 2 Emilio projects that I would gravitate most towards, and more than any Rob Lowe, like when he was still a Brat Packer, more than any Rob Lowe and any Andrew McCarthy project. So
yeah.
Anyway, Los Cantu on Letterboxd, Carlos, tagged us in his IG story sharing his review, saying, I slogged through this punishment of a movie alongside my buddy's pod, which is awesome, by the way. The pod, not this POS movie. His review is also really funny. He's a good follow on Letterboxd, Los Cantu. But his review was, let's just say I don't think I am, nor have I ever been the target audience for this. I remember seeing it as a kid, and at the time, thinking the people in it were aliens, not relatable or similar to anyone I knew, even tangentially in my universe. I never really thought about this movie ever again, until now. Holy hell, this is some next level Reaganite barf bag trek. Not a single character is redeemable in this to me. They're all just selfish, spoiled boomer kids getting to have it all, and somehow they're still tortured. Poor things. Also, Sax in DC. Sax in DC, where a well-established punk scene and burgeoning indie rock scene are really taking off at the time in the mid-'80s. Really? Barf. Again, not the target audience for this. I'll put it this way. Estevez was in a film the year before this called Repo Man, which I also saw right around this time. That film is infinitely better to me with characters that are more often than not relatable and in most cases, definitely not all, redeemable. And that's the difference. The variety of the character in the story. That's why it's a better film. Mobius 13 skeeted. I really tried, but this was everything cringe in the 80s, as badly as the John Hughes flicks, as badly aged as the John Hughes flicks. Even worse because it paved the way for right-wing, straight white dudes for generations. Whatever Hollywood exec said it was the most loathsome cast on paper was dead on. I couldn't finish it. And then he joked, I'd said I couldn't fathom what his complaints would have been. And he joked, or he said, hiring a cocaine addict to play a cocaine addict while still in the midst of an addiction so bad they made her go to rehab and then come back on set and play an addict is just a classic 80s move.
I think, yeah, and like, maybe the movies that he's referencing, I don't think that St. Elmo's Fire is as vilified as a lot of the other 80s movies that we talked about, that people think of. It's not holding up. But like the characters around St. Elmo's Fire are, certainly idealized and lauded, and people wanted to be them. And I still think that there's like a good natured, connection that a lot of people have with that movie. And that, in a sense, is like why I feel it's so, toxic or dangerous, is because it's still revered in a lot of people's memories, and it shouldn't be, because these people, like, with the exception of like it being in Washington D.C. and not New York, and they're not all in
or
finance,
Illinois.
right? But like I thought more and more, like after we talked about how close this group is to like the protagonist in American Psycho, and like, yes, they're not in finance, and maybe there's they're maybe a different level financially, and yes, that's in New York versus DC, but like the people, the protagonists, especially like Bateman's friends, right? But like Bateman's friends are all terrible, and the director makes sure that we know that they're terrible. Joel Schumacher,
Herron, right?
Mary Herron. Yeah. Joel Schumacher does not have that agenda.
No. And Schumacher, I mean, this is an auteur film. He wrote and directed this.
Oh, God. I know his name's going to come up again.
Schumacher? What makes you say that?
I'm
pretty sure DC Cab's been on a list. I know it has, in fact. I'm 100% certain of this.
Yeah, but like Lost Boys and Flatliners is probably around the corner.
Yeah, they were all three of them were on Chelsea's list, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Chelsea's adolescence was so influenced by this man. It's ridiculous.
Maybe that's why she was so in the bag for it.
Yeah, and maybe that's why
she didn't know it, but she's a hardcore Joel Schumacher stan.
Yeah. I mean, the tattoo now on her bicep makes so much more sense.
Yeah. Just Joel Schumacher's signature.
It was Joel forever. And then heart, yeah. It's a nice tattoo, though. Good lines.
The doing St. Elmo's Fire did give me the chance to put St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion, the John Parr, like epic theme song from this film. Let me put it in all the posts, and especially heinous drawings on Instagram said the song kicks so much ass, which obviously I agree with. Movie, doesn't deserve the song. Let's just say that.
That was your saving grace.
The song? Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I mean, I edited the episode, but I don't remember what I said my saving grace was.
I can't imagine what it would be. Unless it was like saxophone. I think
It was the sax scene. It was the
Yeah.
ridiculous sax scene.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Last follow up here. On Blue Sky, Gopher Balls said, my over under on the number of St. Elmo's characters still alive is 2. And then he lists how they went out. Jules, OD.
Yeah.
Billy, DUI. Alec, minimum security prison stabbing. Wendy, private plane crash. Kirby, COVID. And then Leslie and Kevin are still alive.
I mean, Kirby lasting that long to contract COVID would be a bit of a surprise. I think that he would have overstepped his bounds at some point before then. I mean, and Rob Lowe, like, I don't know if he's driving in New York.
Billy's the second one listed as dead. So I assume that he's going in order of death here.
He doesn't have a car, but he's driving. He's DUIing someone else's car that he was able.
Oh
to borrow.
yeah. It's not his car.
Yeah. So he kills. That's what happens. He takes home somebody drunk from the bar.
Surely, like, dies and commits vehicular homicide
Yes.
and DUI.
Yeah, he convinces someone that he's okay to drive, who herself is.
Do you
not.
think it's single car or multi-car?
Oh, he takes the family out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, his car flies off the bridge that it happens on.
Yes,
And
but
both he and the passenger whose car he's driving, die in a fiery.
no,
wreck at the bottom of
see.
the
I think that
ravine.
I think he dies in a subsequent DUI. I think he walks away unscathed from this one.
Okay.
I mean, yes, to definitely dying in a DUI, but he probably fills the punch card.
Okay, sure. I like Alec dying in a minimum security prison stabbing. In Club Fed, that'd be funny.
Yeah, it's just amazing that for the majority of these characters, the men, they don't get punched out in this movie.
Oh yeah, it's shocking. Shocking.
Swear to God, if you fucking ash your cigarette in the food that I'm cooking us, I'm throwing a fucking punch.
For real, 100%.
What are you doing? We're eating that later.
And that's like the good guy.
That's the good guy. Yeah, that's the
only one that he has living.
That's the sensitive one.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. The only male character who he has living is still that dickhead who ashes in the food.
Yeah. I mean, cancer sometimes takes a while.
Well, I think we can put St. Paul's Fire to bed mercifully.
For now, yes.
Put the pillow over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I think everyone's going to really enjoy next week's film.
Yeah, this is a good one. Very, very, like
big change of pace.
A hard right turn from St. Elmo's Fire.
Same year.
Same year. Interesting. Okay.
Same year. Coming from different worlds.
Different hemispheres, one might say.
Yep. And I'd rather live in the hemisphere or world of this week's movie than last week's.
Yeah. There's so many more redeeming characters in this one.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Cost a little less to make. I presume. I guess I didn't. Here, I'll pull up the budgets real quick. Okay. Next week's movie, $4 million. St. Elmo's had to cost more than that, right? Yeah. $10 million. So more than twice as much.
Well, I think that this is a great palate cleanser.
For sure. I
If
mean,
if you're out there and you've had a bad taste in your mouth and you were, um, kind of in sort of an anxious state over St. Elmo's fire and the things that we said about it last week, you're not going to have the same problems.
no, no. Yeah, it'll be a way less divisive film, I think. Everyone's just going to love it.
Yeah, I can't imagine somebody having a problem with this movie or anything that we say about it. I mean, this needs to be on in every home in America.
100% agree.
We're having some fun here, guys. Just so you know. Wait till you hear this.
Nope, we're not. We're dead serious here.
Oh yeah, we're dead serious. Sorry.
Yeah, this might win an Oscar this year. We'll see.
I hope that by the end of this week and next, people start using the title of this film in conversation.
Yeah, day to day. Yeah. So
as a noun and verb.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hold on to those couches, everybody. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but
yeah,
this will be discussed in about 20 minutes of podcast time. So, without further ado,
here we go. Buckle up.
Let's strap in.
Yep.
Strap into the childhood of our next guest, Greg Schaum, where he watched this movie as it was replayed and replayed and replayed on HBO.
God save us.
Welcome, everybody, to another Q's and T's installment of the Unkind Rewind, where we get to know our guest for next week. Well, and this week, too. But our guest whose movie we'll be watching next week. This week, we are welcoming Greg Schaum to the mix. Greg, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about doing this podcast with you guys. Longtime fan of yours, obviously.
Yeah.
Very stoked to be here with you guys.
Yeah, no, we're jazzed. Your list is really fun. I'm of course always joined by my co-host Sean McGrath. Sean, how's it going?
Yeah, hi Greg. You're going to be a fan of mine.
Good. I will be. If you build it, they will come. Yeah, right. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm already a fan of your wallpaper back there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this will drop away in the future, but the Royals just won a playoff series. How does that feel, Greg?
It feels awesome. I mean, my son is 15, so he was pretty young when they went through their last deal, and I was still an agent back then. So I don't think I appreciated the Royals baseball as much as I do now. And it's great to see it through my son's eyes. So now on to New York. I mean, it sounds like it did when I was a kid. Yankees and Royals in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too that like maybe, a month ago, you're kind of shaking your boots if somebody tells you you gotta go to Baltimore to play the Orioles in a best of 3. But it seemed that, I mean, the Royals played baseball well last couple weeks, obviously, and then Orioles just disappeared.
Yeah, no doubt. Things are coming together for the Royals. The bullpen looks like a new bullpen.
It is a new bullpen.
It just Baltimore pitching to Bobby Witt is going to be what's going to be written about them for a long time. That's the one bat in the lineup that can hurt you. Yeah, Baltimore. I saw them in spring training. They look like the team to beat this year, and now they're 5 games in the postseason in the last 2 years. They've lost all of them. So, there might be some movement up in Baltimore. Who knows?
Yeah, it's weird. How do you feel about, like, to me, the AL's way down. Like, there's not a good team in the AL.
Yeah, I think you look, the Royals if you look at them, like it really, they have Vinny coming back's big. That's big.
Yeah.
I think from a starting pitching standpoint, 1 to 3, the Royals can go up against anybody. I'm a big fan of Waka. I mean, Waka he was really good this year. And, you look at what the seventh, eighth, ninth of this bullpen can do. I'm not saying it's like the 2014, 2015 team, but the starting pitching is there. So
Starting pitching's better than then.
I'll put Reagan's up against anybody on any
Yeah.
day. I really will.
Yeah. The big difference, of course, is the difference in quality of the position players. This,
Yeah.
yeah, there are
1985 team outside, George Brett, Bobby Witt, awful offense, with my man Buddy at shortstop hitting 189 and all those guys. And the team now, they really don't, when you look at their lineup, again, you've got to figure out how to not let Bobby hurt you. And I have to believe that's what the Yankees are going to do.
yeah.
So for our audience who doesn't know, Greg, are the Royals calling you at home to ask you what to do, or do you just send texts?
You know what? I stepped away from the game for the most part. I think in March. Obviously, I'm focusing on my company now. They do not reach out to me. JJ and I are not on the hotline with each other, sending each other texts with each other. But no, they I've known those guys forever. I mean, back to my Royals post game days back in 2008, 2009. I've known those guys forever, right? So, but yeah, I've seen them grow as executives and become who they are. But yeah, certainly, no, I'm not on speed dial with anybody.
Okay, so for people who aren't on the YouTube, Greg is hard winking right now. He has no official capacity
Yeah.
within the Royals. Okay.
Well, so Greg, some of the audience may not know you. Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? You've had kind of many lives.
Yeah, no, I played college baseball in Riverside, California, transferred to University of Kansas, graduated from there. Really always had one foot out the door at University of Kansas. I wanted to get back to Los Angeles. I wanted to pursue acting. I took an acting class in Kansas City with D. Wallace Stone, who was the mom and ET. Dee said, Greg, you got to come out to Los Angeles. And so I did. And she was my first acting coach out there. Spent 8 years out there, really ran with a fast crowd there for sure. I think I fell in love with the social life more than the craft of acting. Got to the point where I think, and you and I were talking about this earlier, I got to the point where I just didn't have control of my own destiny anymore. I was 31 years old, and I'd come close to a couple things, but had never really got that big break. And just felt that, you know what, if I'm gonna can take my life back, I probably need to move back to Kansas City. It took me a while in Kansas City. Eventually, found my way into a broadcasting job with 610 Sports, where I hosted the Royals post game show in 2008 and 2009. From there, spent a couple years working in sponsorship sales for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then started in that time at a website called Pine Tar Press with David Lesky and Clint Scholes, and started getting some attention from some major league teams to be a scout, from some agencies. I decided to jump into the agency world, helped build an agency out of St. Louis, and left there in 2017, starting my own agency. I did that until, like I said earlier this year, now I work a little bit with an agent out of Phoenix that has all my players that I did have are now with. But along the way, Buddy Biancalana, who we mentioned earlier, introduced me to a company president, big, kind of a big wig guy. And he and I hit it off, and he said, let's just start a company where we're recruiting former college and professional athletes for sales jobs. So that company's called Klutch with a K, Klutch MFM. And I've helped mentor a few ex-major leaguers, minor league baseball players, and help them kind of guide them in life after sport, and found them really nice jobs around the country. So that's what I do right now. Full time, I really am hunting for former college and professional athletes, and trying to provide them an opportunity with a company around the United States in the sales world. So that's what I do
Right
now.
on.
Yeah.
Have you had to
that's
talk
awesome.
to them? And have you had to talk to them about their chewing tobacco habits in the sales world, or?
That's crazy you say that, because when I was an agent, there was a big deal called the Tony Gwynn rule, where you were supposed to be grandfathered in to chew tobacco. And I think Eric Hosmer's rookie year was supposed to be the last year to chew tobacco. If you watch any game now, nobody's enforcing that rule. Those guys are all, I mean, it's not George Brett and Lenny Dykstra,
Sure. Yeah.
they're definitely, so I don't, look, Passon and I are still buddies. I love Jeff. I've reached out to him, and he just kind of laughs at that. You can't patrol it. You can't police it. It's just,
Yeah.
unfortunately, Tony Gwynn rule is being enforced by the current players in baseball.
It'd be a funny thing if the ump is checking like infielders like gums as they come off the field
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
instead of their glove.
There was rumblings for a while because fans couldn't get into early batting practice for home games, right? So if you go to watch your home ballpark, you're never going to see your team take batting practice, but more than likely you'll see the visiting team. And the rumbling is because all the players wanted to dip during that time. They didn't want to get fined. But I don't know what the reason is for that now.
Yeah.
But there legitimately used to be a guy that would sit and watch for guys chew tobacco, and you'd all of a sudden get a $500 fine. So it just look. I mean, if that is still a rule, MLB is making a lot of bank off of the amount of people that are chewing tobacco during ball games.
I bet it's a bottom line issue with the stadiums at this point. They figured out like, oh wait, if we don't let people in an hour earlier than we were going to before, then we don't have to pay all of the back of house, front of house staff to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we haven't told you what movie we've chosen from your list yet.
He has a feeling.
I don't think he. I don't know that he does.
I have one movie I think you might have chosen, and that's and we'll see if I'm right.
Okay. Okay, so from your list,
Good list.
it really like there was a lot on this list that we considered. Like we had, I think the first cut was down to like 5 movies, so that's a lot. So you sent us a list including Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins, High Spirits, Max Dugan Returns, The Last Starfighter, A Soldier Story, Taps, Hot Dog the Movie, Eddie and the Cruisers, Gymkata, Streets of Gold, Wildcats, and Twilight Zone the movie. Again, lots of ways we could have gone with this.
Yeah, I could talk 20 minutes just about what we're not going with.
I had just watched Eddie and the Cruisers when you sent this list in.
But that list also speaks to kind of who Greg is too, and that's what that's what I kind of want to get into.
So what movie do you think we chose, Greg?
Gymkata.
Good guess. I didn't really think it was going to show up on any other list, and I really want to talk about it. Yeah, it's
yes, Greg, your wish has come true.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Greg, memory
Christmas comes early.
Memory can be a tricky thing.
Yeah.
Having not rewatched Gymkata in ages, why don't you briefly describe what you think the plot of the movie was? Like a minute or two, no more than that.
Just broad strokes. What is Gymkata about?
Kurt Thomas, former U.S. gymnast, is sent into a country that's not named to win some sort of contest where he has to survive the day and take on, and there's other people playing as well. And I think it's like the Highlander rule where there can only be one person alive at the end. So throughout his journey, he fights the most random people. And then I think there's a bad guy that cheats in it. I know there's some karate going on and some weird like pitchfork stuff, but Kurt Thomas obviously finds everything possible to do like the what's the horse thing, we swim around
horse.
Pommel horse. I mean, he does all sorts of like tricks and stunts, but a very weird and silly movie that I think that anytime I had buddies sleep over when I was growing up, that seemed to always be on cable, and we'd always watch parts of it. So I mean, I think that I've probably seen the full movie a few times, but parts of it like 50 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those movies that was always on back in the day, and I can't believe that. Where the heck am I going to find this movie now? I guess I'm going to find out.
Listeners can find it on, if you just do a quick Google search for Gymkata, which is spelled Gymkata. Gymkata streaming, and just go to the video page. It'll come up on Dailymotion. It's an okay cut. So everyone can find it very free through extra legal means.
It doesn't seem like they're really protecting the copyright of this thing.
Sadly. Now, how old were you when this was like a fixture of your youth? When these sleepovers were going on?
I'm assuming that they played off of the 1984 Olympics, like they did with American Anthem, right? So I'm assuming it came out in like 85, 86. So I'm thinking I was 13, 14 years old, somewhere in there. That'd be my guess.
Okay.
Obviously would have buddies stay over at my house probably into my 9th grade year. So I'm thinking 6th, 7th grade. That was probably the high time of watching that
Okay.
movie.
What do you think you were like at that age? What was young Greg getting up to then?
I mean, at that point, obviously I was just playing every sport I possibly could. The Royals were great in 1985. I was not thinking about the Chiefs at all.
No one was.
I was at a private school at that point, not the public school that I ended up transferring to that I fell in love with. So, life was a little bit different. Obviously, I loved being a kid. I loved where I grew up. If I wasn't outside playing ball with a couple buddies in the neighborhood, I was always watching movies as well. Never realized the love I had for movies would translate, down the road into wanting to try it. But at that age, it was Top Gun, Outsiders. Look, I was the guy, dude. I mean, I'll be honest. When I was in high school, 21 Jump Street came on, and I wanted to dress in high school like Johnny Depp did in 21 Jump Street. I wanted the Iceman haircut. That's who I was. I was heavily influenced by pop culture and probably more. I mean, even though I'm a baseball sports guy, I was probably much more influenced by pop culture than I was by sport. But yeah, I mean, looking back, I would say, I was just a rambunctious kid that didn't comb his hair and always was using my sleeve to wipe snot off of. And then HBO came around at some point, and that was a game changer.
And so you grew up with HBO, like at a certain point that came into the
Yeah,
house.
I think I got HBO when I was like 11 years old. I think I wasn't the first one to get it. I went to Pembroke Hill at the time, so those kids had, they all had probably it before I did, and I was kind of the last one to get it. I remember my dad had Showtime at his office, and so he's a doctor, pediatrician in Kansas City, Kansas. And I'd go and I'd have to wait for like one for he would make rounds, and I'd always sneak in. I remember a movie I watched in his office was that Gregory Hines werewolf movie with I think Albert
Wolfen.
Yes, and just being free. But I was always the kid that would watch that or watch Friday the 13th, and I would have my hand near the remote because you never remote, but near the and every time a scary thing would come on, I would flip it away and then come back. Right, I would just do that, and I remember doing that with the Showtime series. And obviously HBO came on, and just a world of stuff you'd never seen before, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wolfen's really fun.
Yeah.
Have you watched it recently? It's great.
I can put that one down. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good. Adam and I did it for Munch My Benson Movie Club way back.
Yeah.
Love that movie. So fun.
This might be the first time that we're hearing. Yeah, my dad had Showtime at his office.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely. I can categorically say that's the first time we've heard that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was watching other things on there too. That at that age, just trying to figure out what I was seeing. I mean, obviously, Hot Dog the movie's on there. That's a
Sure.
whole other story. But yeah, for sure. I mean, that world was opened up for my generation. HBO. What was on that entrance to HBO, going down the streets with the lights up, and that Saturday night movie. Gymkata, I don't think was ever that featured movie, but it was always playing somewhere on HBO or on TBS or whatever. And that's where I would get it.
Yeah, they have to fill the rest of their schedule.
Yeah. It wasn't like ESPN The Ocho, but it certainly would have been.
Yeah, for sure. So when do you think the last time you saw Gymkata was?
I would say, I know I haven't watched it since I lived in Los Angeles in 95. I think it's probably been since I was in high school. I graduated high school in 90. That's probably my guess.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So a while. Yeah.
And
it's always better when it's been like
34 years. Let's put that one.
And Josh mentioned this, and it will be in the title of the episode, but gym as in gymnasium, kata as in maybe some type of martial art fused. We have a Gymkata.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is not the man's name. It is not
Yeah.
You knew it. You knew his name. I didn't know if you were dropping the character name or the actor name there.
That's the
was
actor.
character's name. I just remember the actor. The gymnast was Kurt Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Josh,
Kurt
have you
with
seen this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I have not, but I have. It has bled into the ether of pop culture to a degree, at least for somebody like me.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm aware of it. I know I can describe that box art because I've walked by that cover
Yeah.
at the video store many a time. He's doing like the split kick. He's in, I think, a white singlet.
Yeah.
So maybe it has come up, but Jim Cotta is certainly one of those. It's almost like it's almost. I know that it probably tonally won't be like this, but it almost is like a grindhouse kind of name. That if you had, you know, somebody a little bit, somebody with a harsh voice could cut like a grindhouse trailer of a Jim Cotta.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know anything about it. Plot summary sounds extremely exciting.
It should sound. It is. It's very exciting, Sean.
I'm hoping this has something to do with the fight against the Cold War, being that it's a movie from the mid '80s.
There's one character I remember in it being really scary, and I'm really curious to see if the character's as scary as I remember him being when I watched
Yeah.
it back.
You better have your hand near that clicker. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna do it old school. I'm gonna go up to the TV and see. Yeah, I don't think we can do that anymore.
well, we've talked about that a little bit, and like how sometimes movies just felt scarier or felt a little bit more visceral when they were on that old cathode TV.
Yeah.
That there is a bit of a muting effect when something like right from the heart of the '80s gets put on a glorious,
Yeah.
flat screen, 45-inch flat screen. Takes away a little bit of the sting, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
Can
maybe
I
that's a good thing. So you
can I
won't be
tell you
scared.
a real story back to kind of that same theme?
Mhm.
I had a recurring nightmare. I'm not kidding you. I had a recurring nightmare my entire life from one scene from Salem's Lot. One scene from Salem's Lot, a recurring nightmare my entire life. I actually, for extra credit, when I was at Cal Baptist, I was able to go to like the school psychologist, and that's what I decided to break down this dream. So in 1998, at the Blockbuster video that was on basically on Sunset Boulevard, I rented it and I watched it on my house on Melrose. And I could see how cheap the makeup was. I could see the strings on the little boy as he floats up to the window. And I thought to myself, this scared me. And I never had the nightmare ever again. True story.
You're you're talking about Danny Glick.
Yes. Danny Glick. Yes.
So I believe Salem's Lot was a TV movie. Josh,
Yeah,
do you
it
can
was.
you from yeah.
David Soul. Yeah.
And I never actually did see that. I think they tried to remake it at some point.
Coming out soon with Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's kid. Yeah.
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 That could actually be good because I like him. But I was reading that in high school in my room, and I shared a wall, not a bedroom, with my younger brother, who decided, as he was known to do, to start talking in his sleep right around the chapter I read about Danny Glick. So Danny Glick floats up to the window of his friend and asks to be invited in.
Yeah.
And then from the other room, I hear, "No, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to go." Yeah, I think that's when I put the book away and like tried to
Yeah.
load up on NyQuil.
Yeah.
Uh, so, what do you think it was about Jim Cotta that appealed to young Greg?
Besides the box art.
Yeah, I just think that at that point I loved the testosterone junkie movies of the time that were being just pushed out everywhere. There's
Mhm.
no doubt in my mind if those type of movies were still made when I was out there, I might have had a better chance at doing something. But I mean, they were just printing and printing,
Yeah.
those type of movies all day long back then. The hot dog movies, the Jim Cottas, all that stuff,
Mhm.
and it's just such an 80s movie. Really it is. I mean, I think that I think what really appealed to me, obviously, I watched the '84 Olympics. I knew Kurt Thomas was, this was the beginning of American Ninja. All the ninja movies were out there, so everything was built around that type of stuff. And you know, uh, yeah, I think it just looked like such a cool journey to go on. And like I said, it played all the time. And honestly, if I flipped through the channels and it was on, it was one of those movies. I mean, to this day, if it probably came on, I would have watched it. But I don't know who has the rights to it or whatever. But it just you haven't seen it on your cable in years.
It's
Some
not making
some
those rounds anymore,
Yeah,
sadly.
yeah,
sometimes kids who are really into athletics, they don't necessarily have the time for movies, and so kids that kind of go through, the varsity circuits and play college ball for whatever sport they're in. Um, you run into like these massive gaps they have as adults. We're like, oh yeah, I never did see Die Hard, or oh yeah, I never
Mm.
did see Pee Wee, or but it seems like you tried to do a little bit of both, and Jim Cotta feels like kind of a merging of these things of athletics, at the highest level, the Olympic level, and also kind of the the teenage bloodlust for movies.
yeah. I think I was very fortunate though. My dad was also he was a Division I wrestler, and even though he was a doctor, was very very busy. He loved movies, so we would drive 30 minutes away from our home to go watch American Ninja at the Blue Ridge Mall by the stadium because that's the only place it showed. My dad would take me to Indian Springs to watch movies, so Oak Park, Glenwood. So I grew up with a dad that loved movies, and I think that gave me this gateway. The same thing with my son now. My son and I watch movies. My son was watching French Connection at 11 years old, right? 12
Nice,
years.
nice.
And he loves old movies. Loves Charlie Chaplin. He loves all that stuff. And he's also a little jock too. So it's interesting. He we just finished The Wire together, and he put The Wire to #1 TV show of all time, beat out Breaking Bad in his role. I've always chosen to talk to my son like he's a young man, not because just for whatever reason. I just want him to feel comfortable around me and also enjoy the type of stuff that I did. Because like let's face it. I mean, today's kids they're so much more sheltered than my generation, where they would let us watch Showtime at their dad's office, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a dad that loved movies, and I think that transferred to me, and I think I'm transferring it to my son as well.
Yeah, it is interesting how it feels like kids kids have like a lot more barriers between what we would have been able to watch growing up. And I didn't have like super permissive parents, but certainly like PG-13 wouldn't have been an issue when I was like 9 or 10, like I could have watched just about any PG-13 movie at that point, and like R wasn't far behind that.
But there's also that thing of like sometimes kids had TVs in their bedrooms, but oftentimes if you were trying to watch something, like the family knew about it.
Yeah,
The family at least knew that you were watching something. The way that movies can exist on your, any device, a phone, a Nintendo
right.
DS, your watch.
Yeah,
I mean, not being hyperbolic here, you could watch something on your watch.
It would
Um,
suck, but you could do it.
it would suck. Um, it just allows, I think, kids to kind of not need the permission,
Hmm.
in a lot of ways. We didn't really have a hard rule like that growing up. I just kind of naturally gravitated um, more towards kind of the screwball comedies, even if they were R. My brother gravitated a lot towards the slasher and horror genre, which didn't interest me. But a violent like Predator or Die Hard, Aliens, those are movies that like as a kid I saw, and I don't remember there being any kind of safeguards
Yeah.
I
with
watched
with
I
with
watched
my
Alien
family.
Theater when I was 7. Aliens I watched with my dad when I was 11. Alien is one of my 5 favorite movies of all time. Um, but yeah, the slasher genre never was my thing. But obviously I would peek an eye at them, here and there, or if a friend came over, he wanted to be cool guy and watch it or whatever. But yeah, I think that was kind of my outlet as well, just watching a good movie that just I didn't have to think about sometimes, or also even looking back, there's movies that challenged me as well that I think I really appreciate a lot more looking back on them at this day.
That won't be the case with Gymkhana, probably.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So what memories do you have? And this could range from your personal experiences with the movie or
Or a
hanging out with a
scene.
friend group, or what sticks out to you most about Gymkhana?
I think trying to reenact the scenes, like, your imagination's nuts, right? So I had a buddy that would come over and we would watch it and we would reenact scenes, right? With a broom instead of the pitchfork, or practice. You just it's like you practice your karate moves, right? You practice the pommel horse move with the legs up in the air. I mean, I think it's just one of those movies that at that age, it's like the guy that goes to watches Rocky and then goes out and thinks he can fight everybody. That Eddie Murphy line. Oh, you watched Rocky, didn't you? That's kind of what
Yeah.
you did to me, right? It just got me going, and I definitely thought that I probably could take down a few people with my Gymkhana moves if I needed to.
Sure. Did you ever get up on the horse?
No, I didn't. I think I
Okay.
tried. Remember trying to. So we had an old couch in our basement that had kind of that pommel horse edge, and I
Uh-huh.
remember thinking that like I was doing the pommel horse and kicking my buddy, whatever, and
Mhm.
I mean, I honestly I can remember. I don't think that I've thought about this memory until you just brought that up. I definitely remember doing the Gymkhana, and I'm sure my parents were upstairs going, "What the heck are those boys?"
It's too bad there
Yeah,
wasn't like a like a Donahue or like a Inside Edition about kids like Gymkhanaing their friends to death.
yeah. The local kid, Jim Cotton, is a gym teacher today.
Yeah, like the sa- like the Satanic Panic of the '80s. Also, yeah, they had to worry about
All
Gymkhana.
of a sudden, instead of wearing trench coats, we're all using like these white, singlets or whatever he's wearing.
Mhm.
I don't remember what he wore, but we start wearing that stuff to school, and yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
First they had to worry about mazes and monsters, and then they had to worry about Gymkhana.
Oh, Jim.
Uh so okay, so you played baseball. Did you play other sports too?
Yeah. So I played soccer growing up, played football in high school, wrestled like my dad for a couple years, but baseball was always my favorite sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
What position were you?
I was in high school. I was a center fielder, and I did some catching in college. In summertime, I would catch, and then in college, I was just an outfielder.
Okay. Um, what expectations do you have for your return to Gymkhana?
Man, I think we're gonna have some fun. We've already shown we're gonna have some fun, right?
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I think we're gonna wonder why Kurt Thomas didn't become Bruce Willis. I think that's what's gonna happen here. Why didn't this guy give? I remember him being a very bad actor. I do remember that.
We're not gonna wonder, Greg.
Yeah. I am curious to see if this bad guy that's in it's a bad, bad guy, if he's as bad as I remember him being. I remember there's a character I like a lot that meets his demise at some point, and I was very upset about that. I remember being
Mm.
upset. And yet at the same time, not knowing why I was upset. I did. And when people died in movies when I was younger, I took it personally. Like that's a weird feeling to have, right? It's just fiction. But I mean, back then your imagination's wild and you're so mad that this guy got one over on this character you liked. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I do not remember how it ends. I do not remember how he gets there. I don't think he was like a secret agent. I don't remember why he ends up there. But I'm sure it was so well written that they're going to clearly explain. Everything's going to make sense when I watch it of why.
100%.
Absolutely. I mean, I bet you the screenwriters went on to amazing careers writing, continue to write just amazing stuff. I'm looking forward to looking at IMDb. I won't look at IMDb
Yeah.
until after I've watched the movie. I'm curious what happened to some of the people from this movie.
I'm sure it was like William Goldman or
Yeah, I
McKee,
mean,
somebody. Yeah.
we've had a really great track
Robert Town.
record. Probably Robert Town. We have had a really great track record. We haven't done an episode of this podcast, Greg, where the script wasn't airtight.
You didn't leave there wondering why didn't I make it as a screenwriter, right?
Right. So I imagine Gymkhana will continue that trend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yep. Seamless screenplay,
Mhm.
assuredly.
I might have to watch it on my flight to Phoenix and then have everybody in the aisles come on. Are you watching Gymkhana? and just watch it on my
I mean,
MacBook.
you have to worry about that because they're not going to have it on their in-flight entertainment.
Oh, it's gonna be on my MacBook watching Jim Cotta. People
Just huddled around.
Well, wait, are
popcorn.
you flying Southwest? Southwest, I think, has Jim Cotta on in
Southwest,
flight.
I am. I'm flying Southwest to Phoenix on Friday and coming back Sunday night. Yeah, I might have to just pop it in and watch it there.
It'll be on the in-flight entertainment for Southwest, I think, is what Josh is saying.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They bought it when they first became a business, and they never let it go.
Yeah. They own
it. It was actually just a buyout for $40.
Yeah. And Kurt Thomas got a 5-cent residual from it, right?
Yeah. If that,
Everyone's
everyone's getting.
Kurt Thomas is a Screen Actors Guild member for that movie. That's what's crazy to me, right? He paid his dues to get. I mean, that wasn't a non-SAG movie; it was a SAG movie.
I'm gonna double check that.
Yeah,
I'll
I would think it would be, but who knows?
I'll check. I'll see if he's still in the roles.
Do you have access to that, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I he might not have paid his dues and gotten kicked out by this point too. So,
but would it show that he was a member, but he's not in good standing?
I think I would be able to see if he was just yes or no if he is a current member of SAG. That's all I would.
Okay.
Determine. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I haven't seen him at the meetings, but I also didn't know I was supposed to be looking for him either.
I think if he was there, you would know he's there. I mean, he's Jim Cotta.
Yeah. What I presume
everyone be whispering, "That's Jim Cotta. That's Jim Cotta. That's Jim Cotta."
It's one of those things where like with Led Zeppelin, he erroneously has been known as Jim Cotta. He just assumes the title.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jim Cotta's on my plane. I think I saw Jim Cotta at the food court.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I would hope that his Olympic heroism turned into him being able to live comfortably and not being your waiter at Hamburger Hamlet right now too. So,
right, or banking on the residual checks for this thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Daily Motion is cranking out checks three times a year.
I don't think so.
I can assure you they're not.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Greg, thank you for joining us and opening up your childhood to what may or may not be a memory that kind of is irradiated or is enhanced. Like maybe this will make you think everything about your childhood was right.
Money bet from you guys. When I watch Jim Cotta, what is the likelihood of me trying to do some Jim Cotta after the movie?
100%.
I would say it's high if you're not wearing jeans.
Yeah.
If you got the singlet on, which I suggest you do,
or at least sweats.
Wear something that allows for some flexibility.
Yeah, athleisure wear at the very least. Yeah,
we'll have some leisure wear. But I'm excited about this. This is something that's been lurking, in my world a little bit for a long time. I haven't had an opportunity. So, and Greg, trust your premonitions because you had an inkling of the movie that we were going to pick, and you were dead on.
Yes, what an interesting movie. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys next week about it.
All right,
Same.
we are too.
Same. Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
You've just listened to another installment of the Unkind Rewind podcast, mining and potentially ruining your childhood for content, one film at a time. Unkind Rewind is a Munchcast production and can be ingested wherever you listen to podcasts and on the Unkind Rewind YouTube channel. Music for this and every other episode of Unkind Rewind was composed by Divorcio Suave. Rate, review, like, and subscribe to Unkind Rewind on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Good Pods. Links to all our social media accounts are in our show notes, but you'll find us as @UnkindRewindPod on nearly every social media platform, all of which are available at our website, unkindrewind.com. If you have a question, concern, complaint, or feedback, you can email the podcast at unkindrewindpod@gmail.com or call into our call-in line, area code 507-479-6440, and leave a message that can be played on air. Fans should join the Munchcast Discord to discuss this or any other episode of the Unkind Rewind with like-minded people. This dialogue may just make it into a future episode of the pod. The Unkind Rewind Patreon will be coming soon, so start squirreling that pocket change away. Thank you for listening to another Unkind Rewind.